Talonslok, welcome in. How are you? How's your night? Hopefully you're doing well. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna switch on over so that we can do some 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back. Let me just adjust this and let's get the book up and started. Hi Riot! Welcome in, welcome in. Hi Lloyd! Alright, let's do this. We'll do that. Psycho T-Cast, welcome in, thank you for the follow. There's a way to change my name and color. So the way that you name the change the color is, I believe you have to become a YouTube subscriber or a member. I forget that they use a different word. I think that's the only way. I could be wrong though. Don't take me on that. Forgetting right on here. You are. I gotta change my name to Wraith. I think you can. I believe you can. We are on chapter 10. If you guys would like to join us, here is the link to the book. Let me see. Hi, Gamey. Alright. There it is. Okay. Open that to the top of chat. Alright. Really quick, before we get into the reading, Gustav, thank you for being third. And for the daily coffee order, Wave, thank you for being first. Velver, thank you for being second. And for the coffee order, Void, thank you for the coffee order. Drydog, thank you for the coffee order. Nevi, thank you for the coffee order. Golden, thank you for the cake. Valonia, thank you for the coffee order. Wave, thank you for the coffee order. Gordon, thank you for the coffee order. DJ, thank you for the coffee order. Rendos, thank you for the coffee order. Last Me, thank you for the coffee order. Aiden, thank you for the coffee order. Amari, thank you for the coffee order. Ninjinister, thank you for the coffee order. Mama, thank you for the coffee order. Emblem, thank you for the coffee order. Aiden, thank you for the coffee done. ETZ, thank you for the coffee order. Goose, thank you for the coffee order. Swanky, thank you for the coffee order. Vexing, thank you for the care package. We'll do that in just a minute. Blocking Head, thank you for the coffee order. Yuki, thank you for the coffee order. Thank you for the for the forehead kiss. Tara, thank you for the coffee order. Golden, thank you for the forehead kiss. Gaming, thank you for the coffee order. Felgren, thank you for the coffee order. Jellyfish, thank you for the coffee order. Bacon, thank you for the coffee order. Fowl, thank you for the coffee order. Riser, thank you for the coffee order. Fish, thank you for the coffee order. Liquid, thank you for the coffee order. Emva, thank you for the coffee order. Fraction, thank you for the coffee order. Gusto, thank you for the forehead kiss. Senji, I'm going to refund your points because we already have a care package I haven't done yet. And Cameron, thank you for the coffee order. Alright guys, care package. Sit up straight. Tilt your head to the left. And tilt your head to the right. Sit up, look up. And look down. All right. Beautiful voice here. Get nice and cozy. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. Hi, Cameron. I'm gonna see if I can make a name purple, or if the color is something Momo set for her members. I think I set them, but I could be wrong. I'll have to take a look later. Alright. Green is the color for Momo set. Okay, which makes sense, because it'd be color I can see. I can't change it. Got it. Okay. Which makes sense. I think YouTube is a little bit particular about their colors, which makes sense. But yeah. Alright, everybody. Let's settle in. Let's get comfortable. We're gonna read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. If you guys would like to join us with the book reading, like I said, you can get the link pinned to chat, or you can do !book and get the book that way. Where we are right now is on chapter 10, where the professor, his manservant, and Ned are now technically prisoners of the Nautilus and Captain Nemo. They found out that the captain does in fact speak French, so they can understand each other. Super chats on here work? Never mind, I figured it out. So super chats is like bits. You got to think about it like bits, right? So if you do from how I think about it, I think it's like in a bit system, not necessarily like subscriptions, right? Because I don't think I could put I think the Discord is broken. You mean my Discord? What do you mean? I haven't paid for Nitro in 2 months and I still have it. Oh, I can't do anything about that. But so they found out that they are in fact prisoners above well, they don't know the name of the ship, or sorry, the name of the what's it called? The name of the they don't know that the name of the ship that they're on is called the Nautilus. We do, because Captain Nemo and Nautilus are kind of one-on-one. But what ends up happening is Ned is getting agitated that he has to be kept prisoner on this ship that he doesn't know anything about, so he can't communicate with the people that are keeping him prisoner. And so when the steward comes in to give them food, he attacks the steward, and he's like trying to suffocate him with his hands. And the professor and his manservant is such a weird word, right? But it's more like his butler, kind of, but he's like more than a butler. They just refer his, not a boy, technically, because the thing with the book, I will tell you guys right now, the thing with the story of 20,000 Leagues that we've kind of come across is there's a lot of things which is like, and I couldn't stand the thought of having to only live a mere 50 years and not be able to think of Ned Land longer than that. I wish to live longer just so I can think upon my friend Ned Land. You're just like, oh, so you like him. And then the way that his butler talks to him and is lead henchman. Yes, it says lead henchman. You're right. You're so right, Reborn. And the way that I bought this AFK and I used it once. I should probably make some right now. Yes. Oh my gosh. Which AFK did you get? It's one of my favorites. Like. Yes. So they like each other, not like each other, but they like each other. But the way that His name, the butler's name is Conceal, like council, but Conceal. So Conceal basically says, tells the professor, I saw you get thrown overboard, so I jumped down so that I could be with you, sir. And you're just like, huh? They were roommates. They are roommates. So Ned Land, Conceal, and the professor are all imprisoned into one room. They're not separate rooms, just roommates. No. Well, okay, technically yes, but the way that the professor, because the book is told through the perspective of the professor, right? It's not like we're third person watching all these characters. All the characters are described and talked about from the perspective of the professor. Oh my god, they were roommates. It's a hot chocolate. Wait, hold on. Lily's is a hot chocolate. Hold on. Wait, no, I need Venny. Venny is my G-subs rep. Venny. The Lily lullaby is hot chocolate. Can I have some of that? The AFK cinnamon one? Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Okay, I didn't know that. Hi Endo! Oh my gosh, Endo, it's been forever. How are you? Hopefully you're doing good. Hi John. To warm the water. I'm on top of things tonight. You are. But perfect sub for a three-way. Just kidding. Unless, exactly. No, that's pretty much where it was leading to. But yeah, so Conceal, the professor, and Ned Land are all together, prisoners aboard the ship. They are fed, they are taken care of, but they don't know for how long. And there's so much mystery, and because it seemed like, hi Siren, have a good lurk. And James, thanks so much for the headpad. And so it seemed like so much was kind of left for the group without any prior knowledge of what's going on, right? So what ends up happening is when the steward comes into the cell to deliver dinner or breakfast, they don't know exactly what time it is. Ned attacks them, and the professor and Conceal are trying to pull Ned off of the man. And that's when who they think is the captain, because they're still not sure, right? There was no communication, verbal communication. Anyways, and so when who they believe is the captain comes forward, he says to them in French, because it's kind of weird. The story is written in English, but the professor is French, so the way that he's thinking and speaking is in French, not English, supposedly. Anyways, so basically that man tells the professor to calm down, tells Ned to calm down, and for the professor to listen to him. And that's where we are on chapter 10. We're on chapter 10, The Man of the Waters. How are you doing? I'm good. Gonna lurk on Twitch and leave the stream with my PC. Join here on my phone. Okay, thank you so much, Riot. Thank you. Yes, if you guys can do me a favor, if you haven't already, you can open a tab over on my YouTube side of ASMR. Even if you just have the tab open and you just want to lurk and hang out and listen, I would greatly appreciate it. We are partnered on YouTube already, but we are trying to bring the numbers up for concurrent viewers on YouTube side so that the algorithm picks it up and will deliver my channel to other people who are looking for ASMR that I do. But let's get cozy in bed, take a deep breath. Recenter, and let's read our book. Chapter 10, The Man of Waters. It was the ship's commander who had just spoken. At these words, Ned Land stood up quickly, nearly strangled. The steward staggered out at a signal from his superior. But such was the commander's authority aboard his vessel, not one gesture gave away the resentment that this man must have felt towards the Canadian. In silence, we waited for the outcome of the scene. Conseil, in spite of himself, seemed almost fascinated. I was stunned. Arms crossed, leaning against a corner of the table, the commander studied us with great care. He was reluctant to speak further. Did he regret those words he had just pronounced in French? You would have thought so. After a few moments of silence, which none of us could have dreamed of interpreting, "Gentlemen," he said in a calm, penetrating voice, "I speak French, English, German, and Latin with equal fluency. Hence, I could have answered you as early as our initial interview, but first I wanted to make your acquaintance, and then think things over. Your 4 versions of the same narrative, perfectly consistent by and large, established your personal identities for me. I now know that sheer chance has played in my presence. Professor Pierre Honnois, specialist in natural history at the Paris Museum, and entrusted with the scientific mission aboard. This manservant Conseil, and Ned Land, the harpooner of Canadian origin aboard the Abraham Lincoln, a frigate in the Naval Army of the United States of America." I bowed in agreement. The commander hadn't put on a question to me, so no answer was called for. This man expressed himself with perfect ease and almost without a trace of an accent. His phrasing was clear, his words well chosen, his facility in elocution remarkable. And yet, to me, he didn't have the feel of a fellow countryman. He went on with the conversation as follows. "No doubt, sir, you felt that I waited rather too long before paying you this second visit. After discovering your identities, I wanted to weigh carefully what policy to pursue towards you. I had great difficulty deciding. Some extremely inconvenient circumstances have brought you into the presence of a man who has cut himself off from humanity. Your coming has disrupted my whole existence. Unintentionally," I said. "Unintentionally," the stranger replied, raising his voice a little. "Was it unintentional that the Abraham Lincoln hunted me on every sea? Was it unintentional that you traveled aboard that frigate? Was it unintentional that your shells bounced off my ship's hull? Was it unintentional that Mr. Ned Land hit me with his harpoon?" I detected a controlled irritation in these words, but there was a perfectly natural reply to these charges, and I made it. "Sir," I said, "you are surely unaware of the discussions that have taken place in Europe and America with yourself at the subject. You don't realize that various accidents caused by collisions with your underwater machine have aroused public passions on those 2 continents. I'll spare you the innumerable hypotheses with which we've tried to explain this inexplicable phenomenon, whose secret is yours alone. But please understand that the Abraham Lincoln chased you over the Pacific high seas in the belief it was hunting some powerful marine monster, which had to be purged from the ocean at all costs." "Hi, Otto, welcome in." A half smile curled the commander's lips. Then, in a calmer tone, "Professor Honnois," he replied, "do you dare to claim that your frigate wouldn't have chased and cannonaded an underwater boat as readily as a monster?" This question baffled me, since Commander Farragut would certainly have shown no such hesitation. He would have seen it as his sworn duty to destroy a contrivance of this kind just as promptly as a gigantic narwhal. Yes, because I believe it's 1 scoop per 16 ounces. I would do just 1 scoop, Riot. If you're going to take AFK. So you understand, sir, the stranger went on, that I have a right to treat you as my enemy. I kept quiet. It's 1 scoop and it's 8 ounces. I was just wondering. Oh, then it should be fine. I think it says you shouldn't exceed 2 scoops a day for the AFK. For the full 20. For the AFK. Yeah, for the AFK, I believe it's no more than 2 scoops a day. I usually only do 1, so I would look at the bottle and see what it says. Riot, before you take any, just in case, you know, you don't wanna sleep a whole day. And also, if it's the one with melatonin, I would really make sure that you're following the instructions. But if it's the one that's not melatonin, I believe that one is not as potent. I kept quiet, with good reason. What was the use of debating such a proposition when superior forces can wipe out the best arguments? It took me a good while to decide, the commander went on. Nothing obliged me to grant your hospitality. If I were to part company with you, I'd have no personal interest in ever seeing you again. I could put you back on the platform of the ship that had served as your refuge. I could sink under the sea, and I could forget you ever existed. Wouldn't that be in my right? Perhaps it would be the right of a savage, I replied, but not that of a civilized man. Professor, the commander replied swiftly, I'm not what you term a civilized man. I've severed all ties with society for reasons that I alone have the right to appreciate. Therefore, I obey none of its regulations, and I insist that you never invoke them in front of me. This was not plain speaking. A flash of anger and scorn lit up the stranger's eyes, and I glimpsed a fearsome past in this man's life. Not only had he placed himself beyond human laws, he had rendered himself independent, out of all reach, free in the strictest sense of the word. For who would dare chase him to the depths of the sea, when he thwarted all attacks on the surface? What ship could withstand a collision with this underwater monitor? What armor plate, no matter how heavy, could bear the thrust of his spur? No man among men could call him to account for his actions. God, if he believed in him, his conscience, if he had the one. These were the only judges to whom he was answerable. These thoughts swiftly crossed my mind, while this strange individual fell silent, like someone completely self-absorbed. I regarded him with the mixture of fear and fascination, in the same way, no doubt, that Oedipus regarded the Sphinx. After a fair, long silence, the commander went on with our conversation. So, I had difficulty deciding, he said. But I concluded that my personal interests could be reconciled with that natural companion to which every human being has a right. I mean, he has 3 new companions now. Harem, since fate has brought you here, you'll stay aboard my vessel. You'll be free here, and in exchange for that freedom, moreover totally related to it, I'll lay on you just one condition. Okay, it's writing itself now. I don't even have to make the jokes. Your word that you'll submit to it will be sufficient. Okay, come on. Come on, bro. Wait. So he likes his men submissive. I mean, same. This is why me and Nemo would get along. I fully believe that me and Nemo would get along. 20,000 wild nights under the sea. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Alright. Go on, sir, I replied. I assume this condition is one an honest man can accept. Yes, sir. Just this. It's possible that certain unforeseen events may force me to confine you to your cabins for some hours, or even for some days, as the case may be. Since I prefer never to use violence, I expect from you, in such a case, even more than any other, your unquestioning obedience. By acting this way, I shield you from complicity. I absolve you of all responsibility, since I myself make it impossible for you to see what you aren't meant to see. Do you accept this condition? So things happened on board that were quite odd, to say the least. Things never to be seen by people not placing themselves beyond society's laws. Among all the surprises the future had in store for me, this would not be the mildest. We accept, I replied. Only I'll ask your permission, sir, to address a question to you. Just one. Go ahead, sir. You said we'd be free aboard your vessel. Completely. Then I would ask what you mean by this freedom. Why, the freedom to come, go, see, and even closely observe everything happening here, except under certain rare circumstances. In short, the freedom we ourselves enjoy, my companions and I. It was obvious we did not understand each other. Pardon me, sir, I went on, but that's merely the freedom that every prisoner has, the freedom to pace his cell. That's not enough for us. Nevertheless, it will have to do. What? We must give up seeing our homelands, friends, and relatives ever again. Yes, sir, but giving that up is intolerably Yes, sir, but giving that up intolerable earthly yoke that some men call freedom is perhaps less painful than you think. By thunder, Ned Land shouted. I'll never promise I won't try to get out of here. I didn't ask for a promise, Ned Land. The commander replied coolly. Sir, I replied, flaring up in spite of myself, you're taking unfair advantage of us. This is sheer cruelty. No, sir. It is an act of mercy. You are my prisoners of war. I cared for you when, with a single word, I could plunge you back into the ocean depths. You attacked me. You've just stumbled on a secret no living man must probe, the secret of my entire existence. Do you think I'll send you back into the world that must know nothing more of me? Never. By keeping you on board, it isn't you whom I care for. It's me. These words indicated that the commander's pursued a policy impervious to arguments. Then, sir, I went on, you give us, quite simply, a choice between life and death. Quite simply. My friends, I said, to a question couched in these terms, our answer can be taken for granted, but no solemn promises bind us to the commander of this vessel. None, sir, the stranger replied. Then, in a gentler voice, he went on, now, allow me to finish what I have to tell you. I've heard of you, Professor Arnois. You, if not your companions, won't perhaps complain too much about the stroke of fate that has brought us together. Among the books that make up my favorite reading, you'll find the work you've published on the great ocean depths. I've pored over it. You've taken your studies as far as terrestrial science can go, but you don't know everything because you haven't seen everything. Let me tell you, Professor, you won't regret the time you spent aboard my vessel. You're going to voyage through the land of wonders. Stunned amazement will probably be your habitual state of mind. It will be a long while before you tire of the sights constantly before your eyes. I'm going to make another underwater tour of the world, perhaps my last, who knows, and I'll review everything I've studied in the depths of these seas that I've crossed so often, and you can be my fellow student. Starting this very day, you'll enter a new element. You'll see what no human being has ever seen before. Since my men and I no longer count, and thanks to me, you're going to learn the ultimate secrets of our planet. I can't deny it. The commander's words had a tremendous effect on me. He had caught me at my weak side, and I momentarily forgot that not even this sublime experience was worth the loss of my freedom. Besides, I counted on the future to resolve this important question, so I was content to reply. Sir, even though you've cut yourself off from humanity, I can see that you haven't disowned all human feeling. We're castaways whom you've charitably taken aboard. We'll never forget that. Speaking for myself, I don't rule out what the interests of science could override even the need for freedom, which promises me that, in exchange, our encounter will provide great rewards. I thought the commander would offer me his hand to seal our agreement. He did nothing of the sort. I regretted that. One last question, I said, as this inexplicable being seemed ready to withdraw. Ask it, Professor. By what name am I to call you? Sir, the commander replied, to you I am simply Captain Nemo. To me, you and your companions are simply passengers on the Nautilus. Captain Nemo called out. Our steward appeared. The captain gave him his orders in that strange language I couldn't even identify, then turned to the Canadian and Conseil. A meal is waiting for you in your cabin, he told him. Kindly follow this man. That's an offer I can't refuse, the harpooner replied. After being confined for over 30 hours, he and Conseil were finally out of the cell. And now Professor Arnois, our own breakfast is ready. Allow me to lead the way. Yours to command, Captain. I followed Captain Nemo, and as soon as I passed through the doorway, I went down a kind of electrically lit passageway that resembled a gangway on a ship. After a stretch of some 10 meters, a second door opened before me. Then I entered a dining room, decorated and furnished in austere good taste. Inlaid with ebony trim, tall oaken sideboards stood at both ends of this room, and sparkling on their shelves were staggered rows of earthenware, porcelain, and glass of incalculable value. Their silver-plated dinerware gleamed under rays pouring from light fixtures in the ceiling, whose glare was softened by the tempered but delicately painted designs. In the center of the room stood a table, richly spread. Captain Nemo indicated the place I was to occupy. Be seated, he told me, and eat like the famished man you must be. Was the professor with the promise of secrets of the undersea world? He did. He really did. It was like, a baby girl, I got the undersea race. He did. Hi, Sunny. Welcome in. How are you? Sorry, I just found that really funny. Our breakfast consisted of several dishes whose contents were all supplied by the sea, and some foods whose nature and devoration were unknown to me. They were good, I admit, but with a particular flavor to which I would soon grow accustomed. These various foods seemed to be rich in phosphorus, and I thought that they too must have been of marine origin. Captain Nemo stared at me. I had asked him nothing, but he read my thoughts, and on his own he answered the question I was itching to address him. Most of these dishes are new to you, he told me, but you can consume them without fear. They're healthy and nourishing. I renounced terrestrial foods long ago, and I'm none the worse for it. My crew are strong and full of energy, and they eat what I eat. So, I said, all these foods are products of the sea. Yes, Professor, the sea supplies all my needs. Sometimes I cast my net in your wake, and I pull them up ready to burst. Sometimes I go hunting right in the midst of this element that has long seemed so far out of man's reach. And I corner the game that dwells in my underwater forests. Like the flocks of old Proteus, King Neptune's shepherd, my herd graze without fear on the ocean's immense prairies. There I own vast properties that I harvest myself, and which are forever shown by the hands of the creator of all things. I stared at Captain Nemo in definite astonishment, and I answered him. Sir, I understand perfectly how your nets can furnish excellent fish for your table. I understand less how you can chase aquatic game in your underwater forests, but how a piece of red meat, no matter how small, can figure in your menu, I don't understand at all. No, sir, Captain Nemo answered me, I never touch the flesh of land animals. Nevertheless, this, I went on, pointing to a dish where some slices of loin were still left. What you believe to be red meat, Professor, is nothing other than loin of sea turtle. Similarly, here are some dolphin livers you may have mistaken for stewed pork. My chef is a skillful food processor who excels at pickling and preserving these various exhibits from the ocean. Feel free to sample all of the foods. Here are some preserves of the sea cucumber that a Malaysian would declare to be unrivaled in the entire world. Here's a cream from milk furnished by the udders of cetaceans, and sugar from the huge fucus plant in the Northern Sea. And finally, allow me to offer you some marmalade of sea anemone equal to that from the tastiest fruits. So I sampled away, more as a curiosity seeker than an epicure, while Captain Nemo delighted me with his incredible anecdotes. Hi, Yoda! They ate like true seamen. They are. They are seasoned seamen, very true. I hate how you put that. Have I put wine? What do you mean, John? Had a lot of innuendos, honestly. Someone told me that Jules Verne is kind of notorious for these innuendos, intentional or not. Hi, Men's Farm. But I'm here. Welcome in. Welcome in, welcome in. Alright. But this sea, Professor Arnois, he told me, is prodigious, inexhaustible wetness of a sea not only feeds me, she dresses me as well. That fabric covering you was woven from the masses of filaments that anchor certain seashells, as the ancients were wont to do. It was dyed with purple ink from the murex snail and shaded with violet tints that I extracted from marine slug, the Mediterranean sea hare. The perfumes you'll find on the washstand in your cabin were produced from the oozings of marine plants. Your mattress is made from the ocean's softest eelgrass. Your quill pen will be whalebone. Your ink a juice secreted by cuttlefish or squid. Everything comes to me from the sea, just as someday everything will be turned to it. You love the sea, Captain. Yes, I love it. The sea is the be-all and end-all. It covers 7/10 of the Earth's planet. Its breath is clean and healthy. It's an immense wilderness where a man is never lonely because he feels life austere on every side. The sea is simply the vehicle for a prodigious unearthly mode of existence. It's simply movement and love. It's living infinity, as one of your poets put it. And in existence, Professor, nature is here more manifest by all three of her kingdoms, mineral, vegetable, and animal. The last of these, is amply represented by the 4 zoophyte groups, 3 classes of articles, 5 classes of mollusks, and 3 vertebrate classes, mammal, reptile, and those countless legions of fish, an infinite order of animals totaling more than 13,000 species, of which only 1/10 belongs to freshwater. The sea is a vast pool of nature. Our globe began with the sea, so to speak, and who can say we won't end with it? Here lies supreme tranquility. The sea doesn't belong to tyrants. One of its surface, they can still exercise their inquisitous claims, battle each other, devour each other, haul every earthly horror. But 30 feet below sea level, the dominion ceases their existence, fades, the power vanishes. Take your eye. He did take my eye. He probably used it for jelly or something. Ah, sir, live in the heart of the seas. Here alone lies independence. Here I recognize no superiors. Here I am free. Captain Nemo suddenly fell silent in the midst of his enthusiastic outpourings. He had let himself get carried away, past the bounds of his habitual reserve. Had he said too much? For a few moments he strolled up and down, all aquiver. Then his nerves grew calmer, his features recovered to their usual icy composure, and he turned to me. "Now, Professor," he said, "if you'd like to inspect the Nautilus, I'm yours to command." The ancient Romans actually used them to get the royal property. They did. Hi, Mansform. Hi, God Hunter. Welcome in. We are now on chapter 11. The Nautilus. Okay. Let's see. I'm actually gonna do a very quick BRB. Oh, I just need to stretch for a minute. Stretch out my arms. Oh. I'm glad you enjoy it. I love reading to you guys. Tuesdays are one of my favorite nights of the week. I love story time. But yeah, I'm gonna do a quick BRB. I'm gonna go grab some more water. And I will be right back. Thank you for the head pat. But yes, BRB and a little water break. Alright. Sorry about that, and we're back. You're gonna steal my stuff? What the heck, Sloth? What the heck? Rude. Okay. We are back. I had to get some water. I need to get ice water. I really like ice water. Oof. She's back. Scatter! Welcome back. Thank you, God Hunter. Thank you, thank you. How are you guys over on YouTube? You guys relaxed? Nice and cozy? Alright. Yum, yum, yum. Is hitting good. Alright, just as my wrap, if I could get some of the Shy Lily one and the cinnamon one, because the cinnamon one sounds really good. But in the middle of a freehand drawing, oh no. I hope we can get through it. I'm so sorry. But I understand. I completely understand. Hi, Shorn. Gotta drink the Wawa? Yes. Yes, we do. Water is good for us. Let me see. Sloth. Thank you for the forehead kiss. Alright. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get back into the book. We are starting chapter 11. Yum, 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 yum. Yum, 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 yum. All right. Chapter 11. Captain Nemo stood up. I followed him. Contrived at the rear of the dining room, a double door opened, and I entered a room whose dimensions equaled the one I had just left. It was a library. Tall, black, rosewood bookcases, inlaid with copperwork, held on their wide shelves a large number of uniformly bound books. Pop? Did something pop? Like that? Want to try one of the AFK Plus, but those are restricted to US only customers. See you soon. I get it, Valonia. Was there a pop, God Hunter? Like my audio popped? Thank you for the flowers. These furnishings followed the contours of the room, their lower parts leading to huge couches upholstered in maroon leather. Upholstered in maroon leather and curved for maximum comfort. Light, movable reading stands, which could be pushed away or pulled near as desired, allowed books to be positioned on them for easy study. In the center stood a large table covered with pamphlets. Among them, some newspapers, long out of date, were visible. Electric light flooded this whole harmonious totality, falling from four frosted half-globes set in the scrollwork of the ceiling. I stared in genuine wonderment at this room, so ingeniously laid out, and I couldn't believe my eyes. Ingeniously laid out, there we go. And I couldn't believe my eyes. Captain Nemo, I told my host, who had just stretched out on a couch. This is a library that would do credit to more than one continental palace, and I truly marvel to think it can go with you into the deepest seas. Where could one find greatest silence or solitude, Professor? Captain Nemo replied. Did your study at the museum afford you such a perfect retreat? No, sir, and I might add that it's quite a humble one next to yours. You own 6,000 or 7,000 volumes here. 12,000, Professor Anwar. They are my sole remaining ties with dry land. But I was done with the shore the day my Nautilus submerged for the first time under the waters. That day I purchased my last volumes, my last pamphlets, my last newspapers, and ever since I've chosen to believe that humanity no longer thinks or writes. In any evident, Professor, these books here are at your disposal, and you may use them freely. I thanked Captain Nemo and approached the shelves of this library. And I started counting the eyes. Oh! Yummy. I hate you. I cannot believe you'd bring that up, Valonia. I thanked Captain Nemo and approached the shelves of his library. Written in every language, books on science, ethics, and literature were here in abundance, but I didn't see a single work on economics. They seemed to be strictly banned on the board. One odd detail: all these books were shelved indiscriminately without regard to the language in which they were written, and this jumble proved that the Nautilus's captain could read fluently whatever volumes he chose to pick up. Among these books, I noted masterpieces by the greats of ancient and modern times. In other words, all of humanity's finest achievements in history, poetry, fiction, and science, from Homer to Victor Hugo, from Xenophon to Michelet, from Rabelais to Madame George Sand. But science, in particular, represented the major investments of this library. Books on mechanics, ballistics, hydrography, meteorology, geography, geology, etc. held a place. They're no less important than works on natural history, and I realized they made up the captain's chief reading. There I saw the complete works of Humboldt, a completed Argo, as well as the works by Foucault, Henry Satin, Cheval, Claire de Ville, Chalet, Meline Edwards, Quantfage, I don't know how to say that, John Tyndall, Faraday, Berthelot, Father Secchi, Peterman, Commander Maury, Louise, Assisi, etc., plus the transactions of France's Academy of Sciences, bulletins from the various geographical societies, etc. And in prime location, these 2 volumes on the great ocean depths that had perhaps earned me this comparatively charitable welcome from Captain Nemo. Among the works of Joseph Berthond, his books entitled The Founders of Astronomy even gave me a definite date, and since I knew it had appeared in the course of 1865, I concluded the fitting out of the Nautilus hadn't taken place before then. Accordingly, 3 years ago at the most, Captain Nemo had begun his underwater existence. Moreover, I hoped some books, even more recent, would permit me to pinpoint the date precisely. But I had plenty of time to look for them, and I didn't want to put off any longer our stroll through the wonders of the Nautilus. That is a very long-winded way of saying that there was a particular book that was printed in a specific year that gave the professor the knowledge he needed to know how long ago the Nautilus has been at sea. I hate you, Swanky. I hate it here. Sir, I told the captain, thank you for placing this library in my disposal. There are scientific treasures here, and I'll take advantage of them. This room isn't only a library, Captain Nemo said. It's also a smoking room. A smoking room? I exclaimed. Then one may smoke on board. Surely. In that case, sir, I'm forced to believe you just kept us relations with Havana. None whatsoever, the captain replied. Try the cigar, Professor Arnois, and even though it doesn't come from Havana, it will satisfy you, if you are a connoisseur. I took the cigar offered me, whose shape recalled those from Cuba, and it seemed to be made of gold leaf. I lit it at a small blazer supported by an elegant bronze stand, and I inhaled my first whiffs with the relish of a smoker who hadn't had a puff in days. It's excellent, I said, but it's not from the tobacco plant. Right, the captain replied. This tobacco comes from neither Havana nor the Orient. It's a kind of nicotine-rich seaweed that the ocean supplies, albeit surprisingly. Do you still miss your Cubans, sir? Captain, I scorn them from this day forward. Then smoke these cigars whenever you'd like, without debating their origin. They bear no government seal of approval, but I imagine they're none the worse for it. On the contrary. Just then, Captain Nemo opened a door facing the one by which I had entered the library, and I passed into his immense, splendidly lit lounge. It had a huge quadrilateral with canted corners, 10 meters long, 6 wide, 5 high, a luminous ceiling decorated with delicate arabesques distributed a soft, clear daylight over the wonders gathered in the museum. For a museum it truly was, in which clever hands had spared no expense to amass every natural and artistic treasure, displaying them with the helter-skelter picturesqueness that distinguishes a painter's studio. Some 30 pictures by the masters, uniformly framed and separated by gleaming panoplies of arms, adorned walls on which were stretched tapestries of austere design. There I saw canvases of the highest value, the likes of which I had marveled in a private European collections and art exhibitions. The various schools of the old masters were represented by a Raphael Madonna, a Virgin by Leonardo da Vinci, a nymph by Correggio, a woman by Titania, an adoration of the Magi by Vernois, an Assumption by the Virgin by Murillo, a Holbein portrait, a monk by Velázquez, a martyr by Briera, a village fair by Rubens, 2 Flemish landscapes by Teniers, 3 little genre paintings by... Okay, he goes on and on about what's there. And some wonderful miniature statues in marble or bronze, modeled after antiquity's finest originals, stood on their pedestals in the corners of this magnificent museum. As the Nautilus's commander had predicted, my mind was already starting to fall into that promised state of stunned amusement. What I'm learning from this book, from the author, he really likes to just list things. Because he's like, there's this book, and 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 this book. The Holy Hand Grenade Antioch, right? It really is. Because he's like, there's a Raphael Madonna, the Virgin by Leonardo da Vinci, Nymph by Correggio, A Woman by Titian, An Adoration of the Magi, which is a painting title, by Vernouilles, An Assumption of the Virgin by Murillo, Holbein Portrait, A Monk by Velázquez, A Martyr by Ribera, A Village Fair by Rubens, 2 Flemish landscapes, 3 little genre paintings by Garato Matsu the Paul Porter, 2 canvases by Gericault and Proudhon, plus seascapes by Bacusin and Vernet. Among the works of modern art were pictures signed by Delacroix, Igres, Decamps, Troyon, Messoua, Daubigny, and he goes on. And you're just like, okay, we get it. Lots of art. And a partridge in a pear tree. Exactly. Exactly. Oh, hold on. Okay, sorry. Hi, Duckui. Welcome in. Alright, so but yeah, very specific measurements. Right? A huge quadrilateral with canted corners, 10 meters long, 6 wide, 5 high, a luminous ceiling, right? You're just like, so a big room. Hi Nepsy, thank you so much for the care package. Let's do a quick care package, everybody. Sit up, tilt your head to the left, and tilt your head to the right. Look up and look down. Sit up, drink some mama. Thank you for the care package. Alright. As the Nautilus commander had predicted, my mind was already starting to fall into that promised state of stunned amazement. Professor, this strange man then said, you must excuse the informality with which I receive you and the disorder reigning in this lounge. Sir, I replied, without prying into who you are, might I venture to identify you as an artist? A collector, sir, nothing more. Formerly, I loved acquiring these beautiful works created by the hand of man. I sought them greedily, ferreted them out tirelessly, and I've been able to gather some objects of great value. They are my last mementos of those shores that are now dead to me. In my eyes, your modern artists are already as old as the ancients. They existed for 2,000 or 3,000 years, and I mix them up in my mind. The masters are ageless. What about these composers? I said, pointing to sheets of music by Reber, Rossini, Mozart, Beethoven, Haydn, Meyerbeer, Harold Wagner, Ober, Gounod, Victor Massi, and a number of others scattered over a full-sized piano organ which occupied one of the wall panels in this lounge. Again, another list. These composers, Captain Nemo answered me, are the contemporaries of Orpheus, because in the annals of the dead all choreological differences fade. And I'm dead, Professor, quite as dead as those friends of yours sleeping 6 feet under. Captain Nemo fell silent and seemed lost in reverie. I regarded him with intense excitement. Yeah, Professor? Silently analyzing his strange facial expression, leaning his elbow on the corner of a valuable mosaic table. He no longer saw me. He had forgotten my very presence. It didn't I didn't disturb his meditations, but continued to pass and review the curiosities that enriched this lounge. After the works of art, natural rarities predominated. They consisted chiefly of plants, shells, and other exhibits from the ocean that must have been Captain Nemo's own personal finds. In the middle of the lounge, a jet of water, electrically lit, fell back into a basin made from a single giant clam. The delicately festooned rim of the shell, supplied by the biggest mollusk in the class, Acephala, measured about 6 meters in circumference, so it was even bigger than those fine giant clams given to King Francois I by the Republic of Venice, and which the church at Saint Sulpice in Paris had made into 2 gigantic holy water fonts. Around this basin, inside elegant glass cases fastened with copper bands, there were classified and labeled the most valuable marine exhibits ever put before the eyes of a naturalist. My professorial glee may easily be imagined. The zoophyte branch offered some very unusual specimens from its 2 groups, the polyps and the echinoderms. In the first group, organ pipe coral, Gorgonian coral, arranged into fan shapes, soft sponges from Syria, Isis coral from the Molucca Islands, sea pen coral, wonderful coral from the genus Virgularia from the waters of Norway, various coral of the genus Umbellaria, alkalorian coral, then a whole series of those madrepores that my mentor, Professor Milne Edwards, had also shrewdly classified into divisions, and also among which I noted the wonderful genus Fablina, as well as the genus Oculina for Reunion Island, plus a Neptune's chariot from the Caribbean Sea. Every superb variety of coral, and in short, every species of these unusual polyparies that congregate to form entire islands that will one day turn into continents. Among the echinoderms, notable for being covered with spines, starfish, feather stars, sea lilies, free-swimming crinoids, brittle star, sea urchins, sea cucumbers, etc., represented a complete collection of the individuals in this group. In an antique roadshow employee. right, Blob? Oh my god. Have things like this while looking at stuff. A professor. I mean, definitely a professor. Or this, yeah. Okay, let's see. An excitable conchologist would surely have fainted dead away before others. More numerous glass cases in which were classified specimens from the mollusk branch. There I saw a collection of incalculable value that I haven't time to describe completely. Leading this battle with the hot chocolate. Yeah, get some rest, Riot. Lay down. Among these exhibits, I'll mention, just for the record, please don't. Okay. An elegant royal hammer shell from the Indian Ocean, whose evenly spaced white spots stood out sharply against a base of red and brown. Or there's a picture. I could just show you a picture, I guess. Of red and brown with imperial spiny oysters, brightly colored, bristled with thorns, a specimen rare to European museums, whose value I estimated at 20,000 francs. A common hammer shell from the Sea of Queensland, near, very hard to come by. Exotic cockles from Senegal, fragile white bivalve shells that a single breath could pop like a soap bubble. Several varieties of watering pot shell from Java, a sort of limestone tube fringed with leafy folds that much fought over by collectors. A whole series of top-shell snails, greenish-yellow ones fished from the American seas, other colored reddish-brown that patronize the waters off Queensland, the former coming from the Gulf of Mexico, and notable for their overlapping shells, the latter some sun-carried shells found in the southernmost seas. Finally, and rarest of all, the magnificent spurred star shell from New Zealand, then some wonderfully peppery furrow shells, several valuable species of Cytherea clams and Venus clams, the trellis Wendeltrap snail from Tranquebar on India's eastern shore, a marbled turban snail gleaming with mother of pearl, green parrot shells from the Sea of China, the virtually unknown cone snail from the genus Coendolus, every variety of cowrie used as money in India and Africa, a glory of the seas, the most valuable shell in the East Indies, finally common periwinkles, Delphinia snails, turret shells, violet snails, European cowries, Voltune snails, olive shells, midder shells, helmet shells, murex snails, whelks, harp shells, spiky periwinkles, triton snails, horn shells, spindle shells, conch shells, spider conches, limpets, glass snails, sea butterflies, every kind of delicate, fragile seashell that science had baptized with the most delightful names. We read it. He is the nerd, alpha nerd. Hi, Mesa, welcome in. I mean, okay, when you're sick, have a good look. Oh no. Mwah. Enjoy your night. Hi, Mesa. This man has more money than he knows what to do with. No, good evening. Good evening. Oh my gosh. This guy just really likes to be like, here's this thing, and I'm going to tell you everything that's inside of this thing. And us as the reader, we're just like, can we just get into the story? We get it. There's a bunch of rare seashells in here. Alright. Aside in special compartments, strings of supremely beautiful pearls were spread out. The electric light flickered, flecking them with little fiery sparks. Pink pearls pulled from seawater fanned shells in the Red Sea, green pearls from the rainbow abalone, yellow, blue, and black pearls, the unusual handiwork of various mollusks from every ocean and of certain mussels from rivers up north. In short, several specimens of incalculable worth that had been oozed by the rarest of shellfish. Some of these pearls were bigger than a pigeon egg. They more than equaled the one that the explorer Trevnier sold the Saya of Persia for 3 million francs. And they surpassed that other pearl owned by the Imam of Muscat, which I believed to be unrivaled in the entire world. Consequently, to calculate the value of this collection was, I should say, impossible. Captain Nemo has spent millions in acquiring these difficult specimens, and I was wondering what financial resources he tapped to satisfy his collector's fancies, when these words interrupted me. "You're examining my shells, Professor? They're indeed able to fascinate a naturalist, but for me they have an added charm, since I've collected every one of them with my own hands. And not a sea on the globe has escaped my investigations." We're a hamburger kind of guy. You know, that's fair. I do like hamburgers too. Imagine being caught examining the professor's seashells. Oof. I mean, Nemo's seashells, not the professor. Imagine being caught. Dang. I understand, Captain. I understand your delight at strolling in the midst of his wealth. You're a man who gathers his treasures in person. No museum in Europe owns such a collection of exhibits from the ocean. But if I exhaust all wonders on them, I'll have nothing left for the ship that carries them. I have absolutely no wish to probe those secrets of yours, but I confess that my curiosity is aroused to the limits of by this Nautilus. The motor power it contains, the equipment enabling it to operate, the ultra power force that brings it to life. I see some instruments hanging on the walls of this lounge whose purpose are unknown to me. May I learn, Professor Anwar? Captain Nemo answered me. I've said you're free aboard my vessel, so no part of the Nautilus is off limits to you. You may inspect it in detail, and I'll be delighted to act as your guide. I don't know how to thank you, sir, but I won't abuse your good nature. I would only ask you that the uses intended for these instruments of physical pleasure, Professor. The same instruments are found in my stateroom, while you'll have the pleasure of examining their functions to you. But beforehand, come inspect the cabin set aside for you. You need to learn how you'll be lodging aboard the Nautilus. I followed Professor Nemo, who, via one of the doors cut into the lounge's canted corners, led me back down the ship's gangway. He took me to the bow, and there I found not just a cabin, but an elegant stateroom with a bed, a washstand, and various other furnishings. I could only thank my host. Your stateroom adjoins mine, he told me, opening a door, and mine leads to that lounge we've just led. I entered the captain's stateroom. It had an austere, almost monastic appearance. An iron bedstand, a work table, some washstand fixtures, subdued lighting, no luxuries, just the bare necessities. Captain Nemo showed me to a bench. Kindly be seated, he told me. I sat, and he began speaking as follows. Nemo seashells or seashells. Yes. Little column A, little column B. Oh my gosh. After all of that, describing what was in that room, they're just like, so anyways, physical pleasures, and you're just like, oh, okay. Where did that come from? Sure. He was like, now that I've nerded out to you, let's get it on. Alright, Jules Verne. So much. Right. Oh my gosh. Right. It was a lot of lists. He went on and on with his lists. Not to lie. Everybody kind of gets, what's the word? Every so often, right, when we're talking to our friends about something, we have a serious, what's the word? Like a serious, no, I don't want to say special interest because it's more than a special interest. It's hyperfixation, right? So the professor was just like hyperfixating to the 20th degree, and which means he was going in for his lists. You know what I mean? Smiling with a grin right now from listening to the story time reading. Been fun way to see how Jules Verne wrote. It's interesting because I've heard of Jules Verne before, obviously, right? But it's interesting to see how he's writing this, you know? Because it's so like, the innuendos are everywhere. I don't even have to like make the jokes, they're just there. You're like, so have a good night, Envo. Thank you so much for coming in and hanging out. And thank you for the head pat. Thank you so much. Alright, just a reminder, guys, even if it is reading night, if we do reach today's 10 subs of the night, I will read a poem, a love poem at the night. They're usually a little on the spicy side, but if you guys are interested in that, that is the daily sub goal. If we reach them before the end of the night, I will do a love poem before we read out. Alright. Alright. Let's drink some water and read chapter 12. Chapter 12. Everything through electricity. Sir, Captain Nemo said, showing me the instruments hanging on the wall of his stateroom. These are the devices needed to navigate the Nautilus. Here, as in the lounge, I always have them before my eyes, and they are intricate. And they indicate to my position an exact heading in the midst of the ocean. You're familiar with some of them, such as the thermometer, which gives the temperature inside the Nautilus, the barometer, which measures the heaviness of the outside air and forecasts changes in the weather, the humidistat, which indicates the degree of dryness in the atmosphere, the storm glass, whose mixture decomposes to foretell the arrival of tempests, the compass, which steers my courses, the sextant, which takes the sun's altitude and tells me my latitude, chronometers, which allow me to calculate my longitude, and finally spyglasses for both day and night, enabling me to scrutinize every point of the horizon once the Nautilus has risen to the surface of the waves. These are the normal navigational instruments, I replied, and I'm familiar with their uses, but no doubt these others answer pressing needs unique to the Nautilus. That dial I see there, with the needle moving across it, isn't it a pressure gauge? It is indeed a pressure gauge. It's placed in contact with the water, and it indicates the outside pressure on a hull, which in turn gives me the depth at which my submersible is sitting. And these are some new breed of sounding line. They're thermometric sounding lines that report water temperatures in different strata. Still here, thank you, Reborn. And these are the instruments whose functions I can't even guess. Here, Professor, I need to give you some background information, Captain Nemo said so kindly. Hear me out. He fell silent for a moment, and then he said, there's a powerful, obedient, swift, and effortless force that can be bent to any use, and which reigns supreme aboard my vessel. It does everything. It lights me, it warms me, it's the soul of my mechanical equipment. This force is electricity. Electricity? I exclaimed in some surprise. Yes, sir. But Captain, you have a tremendous speed of movement that doesn't square with the strength of electricity. Until now, its dynamic potential has remained quite limited, capable of producing only small amounts of power. Professor, Captain Nemo replied, my electricity isn't the run-of-the-mill variety, and with your permission, I'll leave it at that. I won't insist, sir, and I'll rest content with simply being flabbergasted at your result. I would ask one question, however, which you needn't answer if it's indiscreet. The electric cells you used to generate this marvelous force must be depleted very quickly. The scenic component, for example. How do you replace it since you no longer stay in contact with the shore? That question deserves an answer, Captain Nemo replied. First off, I'll mention that at the bottom of the sea there exists veins of zinc, iron, silver, and gold whose mining would quite certainly be feasible, but I've tapped none of these land-based materials, and I wanted to make demands only on the sea for the resources of my electricity. The sea itself? Yes, Professor, and there is no shortage of such sources. Damn. In fact, by establishing a circuit between two wires immersed at different depths, I'd be able to obtain electricity through the diverging temperatures they experience. But I prefer to use a more practical procedure. And that is? You're familiar with the composition of salt water. In 1,000 grams, one finds 96.5% water, about 2.66% sodium chloride. Then small quantities of magnesium chloride, potassium chloride, magnesium bromide, sulfate of magnesia, calcium sulfate, and calcium carbonate. Hence, you observe that sodium chloride is encountered there in significant proportions. Now then, it's this sodium I extract from salt water, and with which I compose my electric cells. Sodium. Yes, sir. Mixed with mercury, it forms an amalgam that takes the place of zinc and Bunsen cells. The mercury is never depleted, only the sodium is consumed, and the sea itself gives me that. Beyond this, I'll mention that sodium batteries have been found to generate the greater energy, and their electromotive strength is twice that of zinc batteries. Captain, I fully understand the excellence of sodium under the conditions in which you've placed. The sea contains it. Fine. But it still has to be produced, in short, extracted. And how do you accomplish this? Obviously, your batteries could do the extracting, but if I'm not mistaken, the consumption of sodium needed by electric equipment would be greater than the quantity you'd extract. It would come about, then, that the process of producing your sodium you'd use up more than you'd make. Accordingly, Professor, I don't extract it with my batteries. Quite simply, I utilize the heat of coal from the earth. From the earth, I said, my voice going up on the word. Oh, going up, sorry. From the earth? Well, I say coal from the seafloor, if you prefer, Captain Nemo replied. And you can mine these veins of underwater coal. You watch me work them, Professor. I'll ask only a little patience of you, since you'll have ample time to be patient. Just remember one thing. I owe everything to the ocean. It generates electricity, and electricity gives the Nautilus heat, light, motion, and, in a word, life itself. But not the air you breathe. I could produce the air needed on board, but it would be pointless, since I can rise to the surface of the sea whenever I'd like. However, even though electricity doesn't apply me with breathable air, it at least operates the powerful pumps that store it under pressure in small tanks, which, if need be, allows me to extend my stay in the lower strata for as long as I want. Yuichi! Yes, hi, what would you like? Careful, Captain Nemo. Don't give the professor a brain aneurysm explaining how your measuring tools work. Right, exactly. Hi, Pickard. Welcome in. How are you? Captain, I replied, I'll rest content with marveling. You've obviously found what all mankind will surely find one day, the true dynamic power of electricity. I'm not so certain they'll find it, Captain Nemo replied icily. But be that as it may, you're already familiar with the first use I found for this valuable force. It lights us, and with a uniformity and continuity not even possessed by sunlight. Now, look at that clock. It's electric. It runs with an accuracy rivaling the finest chronometers. I had it divided into 12 hours like Italian clocks, since neither day nor night, nor sun nor moon exist for me, but only this artificial light that I import into the depths of the seas. See, right now it's 10 o'clock in the morning, That's perfect. Another use for electricity. That dial hanging over our eyes indicates how fast the Nautilus is going. An electric wire puts it in contact with the patent log. This needle shows me the actual speed of my submersible and... Hold on. Just now we're proceeding at a moderate pace of 15 miles per hour. It's marvelous, I replied, and I truly see, Captain, how right you are to use this force. It's sure to take the place of wind, water, and steam. But that's not all, Professor Anwar, Captain Nemo said, standing up. And if you care to follow me, we'll inspect the Nautilus's stern. In essence, I was already familiar with the whole forward part of this underwater boat, and here are the exact subdivisions going from amidship to its spur. The dining room. Alright guys, get ready for a list. It's been a month. It has been. Hopefully you've been good. Alright, write this down. This is going to be on the test. The how many lists there are in 2000 Leagues. The dining room, 5 meters long and separated from the library by a watertight bulkhead. In other words, it couldn't be penetrated by the sea. The library, 5 meters long, the main lounge, 10 meters long, separated from the cabin stateroom by a second watertight bulkhead. The aforestated room, 5 meters long, mine, 2.5 meters long, and finally air tanks, 7.5 meters long and exceedingly to the stem post. Total, a length of 35 meters. Doors were cut into the watertight bulkheads and were shut hermetically by means of India rubber seals, which ensured complete safety aboard the Nautilus in the event of a leak in any of the one directions. I followed Captain Nemo down the gangway located for easy transit, and I arrived amidship. There I found a sort of shaft leading upwards between two watertight bulkheads. An iron ladder clamped onto the wall led to the shaft's upper end. I asked the captain what this ladder was for. It goes to the skiff. He replied, What? You have a skiff? I replied, in some astonishment, Surely. An excellent longboat, light and unsinkable, which is used for excursions and fishing trips. But then you want to set out. Don't you have to return to the surface of the sea? By no means. The skiff is attached to the top side of the Nautilus's hull and is set in a cavity expressly designed to receive it. It's completely decked over and absolutely watertight. Held solidly in place by bolts. This ladder leads to a manhole cut into the Nautilus's hull and corresponding to a comparable hole cut into the side of the skiff. I insert myself through its double openings into the longboat. My crew closes the hole belonging to the Nautilus. I close up to the one belonging to the skiff simply by screwing it into place. I undo the bolts holding the skiff into the submersible, and the longboat rises with prodigious speed to the surface of the sea. I then open the deck paneling, carefully closed until that point. I upmast and hoist sail, or I take out my oars and go for a spin. But how do you return to the ship? I don't, Professor Anwar. The Nautilus returns to me. At your command? At my command. An electric wire connects me to the ship. I fire off a telegram, and that's that. Right, I said, tipsy from these wonders. Nothing to it. After passing the well to the companionway that led to the platform, I saw cabin 2 meters long, with which Conseil and Ned Land, enraptured with their meal, were busy devouring it to the last crumb. Then the door opened to the galley, 3 meters long and located between the vessel's huge storage lockers. There, even more powerful and obedient than gas, electricity did most of the cooking. Arriving under their stoves, wires transmitted to platform griddles a heat that was distributed and sustained with perfect consistency. It also heated and distilled mechanisms that, via evaporation, supplied excellent drinking water. Next to this gallery was a bedroom conveniently laid out, with facets supplying hot water or cold water at will. After the galley came the crew's quarters, 5 meters long, but the door was closed and I couldn't see its accommodations, which might have told me the number of men I took to operate the Nautilus. At the far end stood a fourth watertight bulkhead, separating the crew's quarters from the engine room. A door opened, and I stood in the compartment where Captain Nemo, indisputably a world-class engineer, had set up his locomotive equipment. Brightly lit, the engine room measured at least 20 meters in length. It was divided, by function, into two parts. The first contained the cells for generating electricity. The second, that mechanism transmitting movement to the propeller. Right off, I detected an odor permeating the compartment. That was in a class itself. I know what that means. Captain Nemo noticed the negative impression it made on me. That, he told me, is a gaseous discharge caused by our use of sodium, but it's only a mild inconvenience. In any event, every morning we sanitize the ship by ventilating it in the open air. Meanwhile, I examined the Nautilus's engine with a fascination easy to imagine. That was two, how could you? It was a trick question, you failed the test. I really do enjoy Tuesdays. Haven't seen personally. Read books to us is great. Pass out. Have a good sleep, Yura. Thank you so much for coming in and hanging out. Let's get some good rest. Good night, good night. Oh, a little stretch. Oof. Okay. I mean, I was just reading the book. I by no means am a teacher. I'm just reading. Just specimen. How are you? I'm doing good. How about you? How's your night? Hi from France. Hello. How's the weather today? Hopefully doing well. Staying warm. I don't know how cold it is for you. Or if it's hot, are you staying cool? It shows I failed the test. Oh no. You failed the test. Well, that bites. Well, anyways. I'm just kidding, Bo. I'm just kidding. Your email actually made me remember something. Oh. All right. Where was I? It's starting fires tonight. Okay. Just make sure it's raining first, okay? For a good hour or two before you do that. Just to be on the safe side. Don't want you to get hurt, of course. I'm just kidding, do not listen to me. Meanwhile, I'll examine the Nautilus's engine with the fascination easy to imagine. You observe, Captain Nemo told me, that I use Bunsen cells, not Ruchmoff cells. The latter would be ineffectual. One uses fewer Bunsen cells, but they're big and strong, and experience has proven their superiority. The electricity generated here makes its way to the stern, where electromagnets of huge size activate a special system of levels and gears that transmit movement to the propeller's shaft. The latter has a diameter of 6 meters, a pitch of 7.5 meters, and can do up to 120 revolutions per minute, and that gives you a speed of 50 miles per hour. There lay a mystery. I didn't insist on exploring it. How could electricity work with such power? Where did this nearly unlimited energy originate? Was it the extraordinary voltage obtained from some new kind of induction coil? Could its transmission have been immeasurably increased by some unknown system of levers? This was the point I couldn't grasp. Captain Nemo, I said, I'll vouch for these results and not try to explain them. I've seen the Nautilus at work out in front of the Abraham Lincoln, and I know where I stand on its speed, but it isn't enough just to move. We have to see where we're going. We must be able to steer right or left or up or down. How do you reach the lower depths, where you meet an increasing resistance that's assessed in hundreds of atmospheres? How do you rise back to the surface of the ocean? Finally, how do you keep your ship at whatever level suits you? Am I indiscreet in asking you all of these things? Not at all, Professor. The captain answered me after a slight hesitation. Since you'll never leave this underwater boat, come into the lounge. It's actually our workroom, and there you'll learn the full story about the Nautilus. Hi, Arcantos. Welcome and how are you? We are now on chapter 13. It's called Some Figures. Look at my last message. Starting fires tonight. I lost the game. What game are you playing? Hi, Arcantos. Welcome and how are you? What time is it? So, I'm gonna take another quick break. It's been about an hour since we started. Oh goodness. I need to stand up. I need to stretch. Oh, I need to move around a little bit. Reading going. It's good. So the chapters are actually relatively short in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And like I said, it's relatively short. But Nebsy, I just saw your care package. I'm so sorry. We're gonna do a quick care package, guys. And we're gonna do it as like a short meditation. So if you're laying down in bed, roll over to your back, put your arms at your side, close your eyes, and take a deep breath through the nose. If you're at your desk, sit up, put your feet flat on the ground, put your arms on your lap, if you can, otherwise on your armrests. Take a deep breath through the nose and exhale through the mouth. If you're laying in bed, just focus on your breathing. If you're at your desk, tilt your head to the left. And tilt your head to the right. Look up. And look down. Sit up. Rotate your shoulders backwards once, twice, third time, and relax your shoulders. Now rotate them forwards, 1, 2, 3, and relax your shoulders. Unclench your jaw, unfurrow your brow, unclench your hands. Take a deep breath through the nose one more time, and you're going to hold it for a second before you release through the mouth. I'm going to count to 3. You're going to take a deep breath. 1, 2, 3. One more time. Inhale through your nose. And exhale through your mouth. Okay. We're going to do a quick BRB like I said. If you need to stand up and walk around, take this time to do that. If you're in bed, getting nice and cozy, stay in bed. Focus on your breathing. And we'll be right back. And we are back. Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully everybody stood up and did a quick little break. Let's switch back on over. And hi Tav, hi Fel. Thank you for the kiss. Thank you, thank you. Let us continue. I stood up, I stretched, I had a little snack here. Hi Cookie, how are you? I had some Sour Patch gummy worms a couple weeks ago. Rizo actually sent me some Sour Patch gummy worms. Sorry, Sour Patch watermelon. Oh, they're so good. So I had a couple before we came back. Doing well. How about yourself? I'm good. I'm good. We are reading 20,000 Leagues tonight. They're very good. They're not super sour, which I really like. But want to stop by before heading to bed. Have a wonderful stream. Take care. Thank you so much. You know what, Phil? I hardly ever give you a shout out, and I always feel so bad because you usually come in and then you leave. So I feel like I didn't get a chance, but hopefully you're doing some Slay the Spire. How was it? Hopefully it was good. Hopefully you had a good time. Hi, Cookie. Could you with some gummies? I have a lot. If you want some, you can have some. CC Retoad, thanks so much for the follow. And Eris ASMR, welcome in. Thank you so much for the follow. Hi, Nyanyo. Welcome in. You're getting cozy for the night. It's so much fun. I hear it's really good. I'm told it's very much like the original, like the first one. But it has some like improvements into the way that it's done. So it's like an actual updated version of it, if that makes sense. That's kind of how it was explained to me. Especially with friends. Yeah, and you can play with people, I heard. I don't think the first one you could, but I never played Slay the Spire, so I couldn't tell you. Especially fantasy. Me too. I love sour sweets. But thank you so much, Phil, for coming in. Yes, go get some good sleeps. Have a good rest. Forward to playing the co-op when it hits console. Oh, you don't have a PC to play games? That's so fair. That is so fair. Cookie. Okay. Really quick, let's go ahead and... Ooh. One more stretch of my neck, and we'll get back into 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Just a reminder to everybody while I'm reading, I won't be looking at chat super often, but you are more than welcome to type something and ask a question or make a comment when we get to a point that I think is a good point to like, then I'll look over, you know? And if you guys would like, I am live also on my YouTube channel right now. So if you can do me a favor, if you can open a tab on your computer if you're able to, and you can mute the stream if you'd like, but having more people watch and have the stream up over on YouTube definitely helps bring attention to my channel into the algorithm so that we get more people to join us on these reading nights. While you read. Good, I'm glad. Hi, Allie. Allie, let me give you a quick shout out too. Hopefully you've been doing good too. You're doing some old school RuneScape. Have a good lurk, Swanky. Thanks so much for coming in. Alright. let me go ahead and pull up the chapter. We are on chapter 13. This will probably be the last chapter of the night. Thank you, Mukia. No, thank you, Allie. Thank you so much for joining me over on YouTube. It really means a lot. Especially because I got a lot of work to do on YouTube. So you guys hanging out with me over there makes me motivated to do a lot of things I want to do. But for now, we read about Captain Nemo. Chapter 13, Some Figures. A moment later, we were seated on a couch in the lounge, cigars between our lips. The captain placed before my eyes a working drawing that gave the ground plan, cross-section, a side view of the Nautilus. Then he began his description as follows. Here, Professor Anwa, are the different dimensions of this boat now transporting you. It's a very long cylinder with conical ends. It noticeably takes the shape of a cigar, a shape already adopted in London for several projects of the same kind. The length of the cylinder from end to end is exactly 27 meters, and its maximum breadth of beam is 8 meters. So it isn't quite built on the 10-to-1 ratio of your high-speed steamers, but its lines are sufficiently long, and the tapering gradual enough so that the displaced water easily slips past and poses no obstacle to the ship's movements. These two dimensions allow you to obtain, via a simple calculation, the surface area and volume of the Nautilus. Sorry, a piece of hair flew to my face and freaked me out. Hi, Belle! These two dimensions allow you to obtain, via a simple calculation, the surface area of volume of the Nautilus. Its surface area totals 1,011.45 square meters. Its volume, 1,507.2 square meters, which is tantamount to saying that when it's completely submerged, it displaces 1,500 cubic meters of water, or weighs 1,500 meter tons. In drawing up plans for a ship meant to navigate underwater, I wanted it, when floating on the wave, to lie 9/10 below the surface and to emerge only 1/10. Consequently, under these conditions it needed to displace only 9/10 of its volume, hence 1,356.48 cubic meters. In other words, it was to weigh only the same number of metric tons, so I was obligated not to exceed this weight while building it to its aforesaid dimensions. The Nautilus is made of 2 hulls, one inside the other. Between them, joining them together, are iron T-bars that give the ship the utmost rigidity. In fact, thanks to this cellar arrangement, it has the resistance of a stone block, as if it were completely solid. Its planting can't give away, it's self-adhering and not dependent on the tightness of its rivets, and due to the perfect union of its materials, the solidarity of its construction allows it to defy the most violent seas. The 2 hulls are manufactured from boilerplate steel, whose relative density is 7.8 times that of water. The first hull has a thickness of no less than 5 centimeters and weighs 394.96 metric tons. My second hull, the outer cover, includes a keel 50 centimeters high by 25 wide, which by itself weighs 62 metric tons. This hull, the engine, the ballets, the various accessories and accommodations, plus the bulkheads and interior braces, have a combined weight of 961.52 metric tons, which when added to 394.96 metric tons gives us the desired total of 1,356.48 metric tons. Clear? Clear, I replied. So the captain went on. When the Nautilus lies in the water, under these conditions, 1/10 of it does emerge above water. Now then, if I provide some ballast tank equal in capacity to that 1/10, hence able to uphold 150.72 metric tons, if I fill them with water, the boat then displaces 1,507.2 metric tons, or weighs that much, and it would be completely submerged. That's what comes about, Professor. These ballasts tank exist with easy access in the lower reaches of the Nautilus. I open some stopcocks, the tank fills, the boat sinks, and it's exactly flush with the surface of the water. Fine, Captain, but how do we come to a genuine difficulty? You're able to lie flush with the surface of the ocean, that I understand, but lower down, while diving beneath that surface, isn't your submersible going to encounter a pressure and consequently undergo an upward thrust that must be assessed at one utmost per every 30 feet of water, hence at about 1 kilogram per each square centimeter? Precisely, sir. Then, unless you fill up the whole Nautilus, I don't see how you can force it down to the heart of these liquid masses. Professor, Captain Nemo replied. Math there is in this book. Yeah, there's a lot of math, and there's also a lot of like lists of things. Taiji, welcome in, how are you? Hi, Bowmaster, thank you so much for hanging out on YouTube. Professor, Captain Nemo replied, static objects mustn't be confused with dynamic ones, or will be open to serious error. Comparatively little effort is spent in reaching the ocean's lower regions, because all objects have a tendency to become sinkers. Follow my logic here. I'm all ears, Captain. When I wanted to determine what increase in weight the Nautilus needed to be given in order to submerge, I had only to take note of the proportionate reduction in volume that salt water experiences in deeper and deeper strata. That's obvious, I replied. Now then, if water isn't absolutely incompressible, at least it compresses very little. In fact, according to the most recent calculations, this reduction is only 0.000436 per atmosphere, or per every 30 feet in depth. For instance, to go 1,000 meters down, I must take into account the reduction in volume that occurs under a pressure equivalent to that from 1,000 meter column of water. In other words, under pressure of 100 atmospheres. In this instance, the reduction would be 0.00436. Consequently, I'd have to increase my weight from 1,507.2 metric tons to 1,513.77, so the added weight would only be 6.57 metric tons. That's all. That's all, Professor Anwar, and the calculation is easy to check. Now then, I have supplementary ballast tanks capable of shipping 100 metric tons of water, so I can descend to considerable depths. When I want to rise again and lie flush with the surface, all I have to do is expel that water, and if I desire that the Nautilus emerge from above the waves to 1/10 of its total capacity, I empty all the ballast tanks completely. This logic, backed up by figures, left me without a single objection. I accept your calculations, Captain, I replied, and I'd be ill-mannered to dispute them since your daily experience bears them out. But at this juncture, I have a hunch that we're still left with one real difficulty. What's that, sir? When you're at the depth of 1,000 meters, the Nautilus's plating bears a pressure of 100 atmospheres. If at this point you want to empty supplementary ballast tanks in order to lighten your boat and rise to the surface, your compass must overcome that pressure of 100 atmospheres, which is 100 kilograms per square centimeter. This demands a strength that electricity alone can give me, Captain Nemo said swiftly. Sir, I repeat, the dynamic power of my engine is nearly infinite. The Nautilus's pumps have prodigious strengths, and you must have noticed when your water sprouts wept like a torrent over the Abraham Lincoln. Besides, I use my supplementary ballast tanks only to reach an average depth of 1500 to 2,000 meters, and that with the view of converting my machinery. Accordingly, when I have a mind to visit the ocean depths 2 or 3 vertical leagues beneath the surface, I use maneuvers that are most time-consuming, but not less infallible. What are they, Captain? I asked. Here, I'm naturally led to tell you how the Nautilus is maneuvered. I can't wait to find out. In order to steer this boat to port or starboard, in short, to make turns to a horizontal plane, I use an ordinary wide-blade rudder that is fastened to the rear of the stern post and work by a wheel and tackle, but I can also move to the Nautilus upwards and downwards on a vertical plane by the simple method of slanting its 2 fins, which are attached to its sides at the center of flotation. These fins are flexible, able to assume any position, and can be operated from inside by means of powerful levers. If these fins stay parallel with the boat, the latter moves horizontally. If they are slant, the Nautilus moves the angle of that slant end under its propeller thrust either sinks on a diagonal as steep as it suits me, or rises on that diagonal. And similarly, if I want to return more swiftly to the surface, I throw the propeller in rear, and the water pressure makes the Nautilus rise vertically, as an air balloon inflated with hydrogen lifts swiftly to the skies. Bravo, Captain, I exclaimed. But in the midst of the waters, how can your helmsman follow your course you've given them? My helmsman is stationed behind the window of a pilot house, which protrudes from the top side of the Nautilus's hull, and is fitted with biconvex glass. Is glass capable of resisting such pressures? Perfectly capable. Though fragile on impact, crystal can still offer considerable resistance. In 1864, during experiments on fishing by electric light in the middle of the North Sea, glass panes less than 7 millimeters thick were seen to resist a pressure of 16 atmospheres, all the while letting through strong, heat-generating rays whose warmth was unevenly distributed. Now then, I use glass windows measuring no less than 21 centimeters at the centers. In other words, they've 30 times the thickness. Fair enough, Captain, but if we're going to sea, we need light to drive away the dark. And in the midst of the murky waters, I wonder how your helmsman can set astern of the pilot house is a powerful electric reflector whose rays light up the sea for a distance of half a mile. Oh, bravo, 3 times over, Captain. That explains the phosphorescent glow from this so-called knoll that so puzzled us scientists. Pertinent to this, I'll ask you if the Nautilus is running afoul of the Scotia, which caused such an uproar, was the result of an accidental encounter. Entirely accidental, sir. I was navigating 2 meters beneath the surface of the water when the collision occurred. However, I could see that it had no dire consequences. None, sir, but as for your encounter with the Abraham Lincoln, Professor, that troubled me because it's one of the best ships in the gallant American Navy, but they attacked me and had to defend myself. All the same, I was content simply to put the frigate in a condition where it could do me no harm. I won't have any difficulty getting repairs at the nearest port. Ah, Commander, I exclaimed with conviction, your Nautilus is truly a marvelous boat. Yes, Professor, Captain Nemo replied with genuine excitement, and I love it as if to my own flesh and blood. Aboard a conventional ship, facing the ocean's perils, danger lurks everywhere on the surface of the sea. Your chief sanitation is the constant feeling of an underlying chasm, as the Dutchman Jansen so abruptly put it. But below the waves, aboard the Nautilus, your heart never fails you. There are no structural deformities to worry about because the double hull of this boat has the rigidity of iron. No iron to be worn out by rolling and pitching on the waves, no sails for the wind to carry off, no boilers for steam to burst open, no fires to fear because this submersible is made of sheet iron, not wood. No coal to run out of, since electricity in its mechanical force, no collision to fear because it navigates the deep water all by itself, no storms to brave because just a few meters beneath the waves, it finds absolute tranquility. There, sir, there's the ideal ship. And if it's true that the engineer has more confidence in craft than the builder, and the builder more than the captain himself, you can understand the utter abandon which I place my trust in the Nautilus, since I'm its captain, builder, and engineer, all in one. Embryonis, thank you for the follow, welcome in. Me all these masks, naruhodo. Right? Me just nodding along, literally not even listening. That's what I do. Hi Swire, welcome in. How are you? Ooh, that was my wrist. Little stretch. Tilt your head to the left. And once more to the right. Okay. We continue. Captain Nemo spoke with winning eloquence. The fire in his eyes and the passion in his gestures transfigured him. Yes, he loved his ship the same way a father loves his child. But one question, perhaps indiscreet, naturally popped up, and I couldn't resist asking it. You're an engineer then, Captain Nemo? Yes, Professor, he answered me. I studied in London, Paris, and New York back in the days when I was resident of the Earth's continents. But how were you able to build this wonderful Nautilus in secret? Each part of it, Professor Anwar, came from a different spot on the globe and reached me at a cover address. Its keel was forged by Cressois in France, its propeller shaft by Penn and Company in London, the sheet iron plates for its hull by Lairds in the Liverpool, its propeller by Scots in the Gallo in Glasgow, its tanks were manufactured by Cali & Co in Paris, its engine by Krupp in Persia, its spur by the Motala workshops in Sweden, its precision instruments by Hartz Brothers in New York City, and each of these suppliers received my specifications under a different name. But, I went on, once these parts were manufactured, didn't they have to be mounted and adjusted? Professor, I set up my workshop on a deserted island in mid-ocean. There, our Nautilus was completed by me and my workmen. In other words, by my gallant companions whom I've molded and educated. Then, when the operation was over, we burned every trace of our stay on that island, which if I could have, I'd have blown up. From this day, or from this, I assume that such a boat costs a fortune. An iron ship, Professor Anwar, runs 1,125 francs per metric ton. Now then, the Nautilus has a burden of 1,500 metric tons. Consequently, it costs 1,687,000 francs. Hence, 2 million francs including its accommodations, and 4 or 5 million with all the collections and works of art it contains. One last question, Captain Nemo. Ask, Professor. You're rich, then? Infinitely rich, sir. And without any trouble, I could pay off the 10 billion franc French national debt. I gaped at the bizarre individual who had just spoken these words. Was he playing on my credulity, time would tell. Oh my god, the next chapter literally opens with math. So much math. I really do not like math. Okay. Let me go ahead. And we will actually end here for the night. We are on chapter 14. And I think this is a good place for us to end for the night. A good place to stop. Oh, Nemo. You vagabond, you. Enticing the professor with your seashells. Which I found really funny. I couldn't help but staring at Captain Nemo's seashells. That part had me laughing. That was just so funny. More math? Oh, because it literally, let me open it again so I could read just the first couple sentences to you guys. Let's see, there are 23. So when we get to chapter 18, I'll do a poll for the next book. Alright, Belle, hear me out. The chapter starts off with: the part of the planet Earth that the seas occupy has been assessed at 3,832,558 square myriameters, hence more than 38 billion thousand hectares. I think that's how you say that. This liquid mass totals 2.2 billion. I think that's what that is. Cubic miles, and could form a sphere with a diameter of 60 leagues, whose weight would be 3 quintillion metric tons. To appreciate such a number, we should remember that the quintillion is to be a billion what a billion is to one. In other words, there are as many billions and a quadrillion as ones in a billion. Now then, this liquid mass nearly equals the total amount of water that has poured through all the Earth's rivers for the past 40,000 years. Tell me that you're just like, I'm good with math today. I think math class is over. Because I think math class is over. Seashells, huh? Mm-hmm. The professor was like, oh, Professor, your seashells. What does any of that mean? My words exactly. You're just like, anyways. But thank you everybody for joining me over on a YouTube. My eye twitched. Exactly, right? My eye twitched too. I was just like, But thank you everybody for joining me over on YouTube. If you haven't already, make sure you guys follow my YouTube. I post, I stream Monday and Tuesdays. Monday we do different things, like we do ASMR role plays, we do triggers, we do cozy game nights, and then on Tuesdays we do reading. Right now, obviously, we're reading 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, but once the book is over, you guys will actually be able to chat. So if you're not in my Discord, yes, if you're not in my how do you spell that? Discord. There. If you're not in my Discord, there's the link right there. I have channels set up to give suggestions. I will drop this into the YouTube channel for anyone over there that would like to join. There is a link right there, just in case if you'd like to. What else? I recently did a new audio. It is a nerdy bookworm, and you, the listener, walks into the bookstore and maybe we talk about some fan fiction or something. It's a really cute audio. I'm trying to do at least 1 to 2 a month. It's kind of difficult to do 1 a week because I have other obligations, such as my Patreon where I do spicy content. But otherwise, YouTube, I will see you later. Have a good night.